some of you haven't had the opportunity to meet the Sweazys yet, but you're surely familiar with their name. Charlton and Natasha and all their children, the African ones and the Mzungu ones, are here with us for a short time this winter to take care of the immigration stuff with their Ugandan children. I wanted, quite a few of us have traveled back and forth to Uganda, and for me in particular, Kampala is my home away from home. And I love the people there. I love the church there. I love the city. And I always feel a little sad that everybody doesn't know who everybody is over there. So one of the things I wanted Charlton to do while he was here was to give everybody an overview of the people in the church, the ministries of the church, what we've been doing there, and how we as a church in America can continue to pray for and support the really amazing work. I'll say this too, Charlton is one of our church planters as well. And I am, it's easier to say without him here, but I'm so very impressed with the work that they've done for the church there in Kampala. They've gone through incredible obstacles and difficulties in working for the Lord there, and we're so very honored to have them as a part of our church body, and very, very glad to have them with us. So go ahead, Charlton, you can take it over.
Well, thanks, brother. That's it's an amazing introduction. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be at this point. It's been years of praying and to see this come into reality of us being here and kind of closing this chapter with the adoption, and then looking towards the new roads and doors that are going to be ahead of us as we close this chapter is just extremely exciting. So before I get into the presentation tonight, we thought that as a family we could sing a song. You'll probably recognize the tune. We'll sing the Luganda and the English version. So the predominant language in Uganda that is spoken is Luganda. And so we'll sing a song for you all, and then from there I'll get started with the presentation. So give us just a moment to kind of get everyone organized here. All right. Everybody? All right. Ready?
Okuvenjuajeba, okutusajegenda, zena sizanga mukama. Okuvenjuajeba, okutusajegenda, zena sizanga mukama. Nasizanga mukama. Nasizanga mukama. Okuvenjuajeba, okutusajegenda, zena sizanga mukama. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, the name of the Lord is to be praised. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, the name of the Lord is to be praised. Praise ye the Lord. Praise ye The name of the Lord is to be praised. Okubendua okutusa jegenda zena sinzanga mukama okubenjua jeba okutusa jegenda zena sinzanga mukama.
Gave you just a little taste of Uganda there with that. So, all right. Well, let me share my screen here. All right. So hopefully, I'm assuming that the screen is shared. Is everybody able to see the screen? Maybe Clark, if you can give me a thumbs up. All right. Great. Well, very good. Well, this, like I said, it's such a blessing for us to be able to be here. I definitely am bringing all of the greetings from the church in Uganda, bringing their greetings with me and extending those to you all. And I'm sure as I head back, I'll be taking the return greetings from you all back to them. But everyone in Kampala sends their greetings and their love. And they are truly blessed by the work that God is doing in and among his people and the connection that we have. So why don't we go ahead and open up in prayer, and then I'll start with the presentation. Well, gracious Father, I just want to thank you for this time and opportunity right now that we have together. We live in some very interesting, awkward times. We're not able to be face to face, able to see each other and hug and fellowship in the ways that we have known previously. But we are thankful for the opportunities and the ability to still meet even in a limited fashion here. And so, Father, we just pray that during this time that we can have open hearts and minds as we think about the work that you are doing in and among your people around the world, and the way that you have allowed us to be vessels of light for your kingdom. And we just thank you, Father, for your son, Jesus, for your kingdom, and for the love that you have bestowed upon us. And we pray that we can extend that to the rest of the world. It's in Jesus' name, amen. So as you can see there, that's a very recent photo just before we left Uganda. There's only one person that's missing, and we had a baptism right before, literally the day before we left for Uganda. We brought another person into the body there, and that was such an exciting time. But maybe as I go through the slides, I'll kind of introduce some of the different families and some of the national brothers and sisters that we have in the body. So for those of you who may not know, Uganda is located kind of it's in East Africa, but it's also kind of in the heart of Africa there. It's bordered by Kenya, Sudan, Tanzania, and the DRC. And it is a very rich country in resource. It is actually the source of the Nile River that runs all the way to Egypt. Begins right there in Uganda at Lake Victoria and runs into the Nile River and then feeds all the way up. So kind of some interesting history and everything surrounding Uganda, and it's a very beautiful country. So I would encourage any and all of you who are able, obviously after some of these Corona restrictions are lifted up, to definitely come and visit at some point. So that's where we're located as far as the country, located within the continent of Africa. We are specifically located in Kampala. Now, Kampala is the capital city of Uganda. And technically, at least at this moment, it is the only proper city in all of Uganda. So everything else is just a township. And Uganda roughly has about 43 million in population for the entire country. For the city proper, we're looking at about 1.4 million. At least that was the numbers several years ago when they did a census. And then if you're looking at the urban kind of like most cities, you have the city proper, but then you have the suburbs and the overgrowth of any major city in the world. And so if you include those numbers, the urban area around Kampala, you're looking at about 3,350,000 in population. So quite a big fishing pond, if you think about it. A good number of people to interact with. There's no shortage of opportunity to meet and connect with people. Another thing is that we strategically placed ourselves back in 2016. Well, let me back up. In 2015 is when we started working together there with the fellowship in Medford as far as strategizing a plan for planting a church in Kampala. And then we moved from one part of the city in Kampala to the area that we're located now, which is called Makerere Chikoni. And so Makerere is, in that picture, you can see that building. That is the university. And when it's under normal circumstances, obviously Corona is outside of the box. This whole year of 2020 has been, I think, a lot of, we're moving into new normals. But as far as the university, it was one of the largest universities in East Africa. And it had a student body typically on average of about 38,000 is its student body in a normal circumstance. So obviously, as I said, right now there's not a whole lot going on as a result of the times that we live in. But we had strategically placed ourselves near the university as a way to engage that demographic. The nice thing about being close to the university is it does give us a large pool of people to connect with, but you're looking at people from a lot of different parts of Uganda, but not just Uganda, a lot of different parts of Africa. Since it is a university, it draws a lot of people from Kenya, Tanzania, people from all over the continent come here to go to school. And so it's an opportunity to potentially impact a broader spectrum of people. So I wanted to take a moment and just talk about, in brief, a little bit of the vision and purpose of the church. Our focus obviously is on establishing and creating a solid local church there in Uganda. Our vision is that we want to see Kampala be the Antioch of Africa. So we want to encourage a sending discipleship atmosphere and model. We want to think about Kampala as being a launch pad as opposed to a landing pad. We want to raise up and send out kingdom Christians throughout the continent. And so that's our goal, and that's our hope, is that we can be successful in that endeavor. And I think we're starting to move into some new levels of maturity as a church there. In Uganda, as Matthew mentioned in his intro, we've been through a lot of ups and downs and false starts, and we've learned from a lot of our failures. And I think that as a church, we're moving into a new and healthy direction with a lot of things, and we're starting to see some really good fruit as a result of that. And so our purpose within that is to make faithful disciples of all nations. That know God and love others. And we want to operate within multiplicative embassies of the kingdom of God on earth. And so we want to have a model that can be replicated. We want something that can be sustainable and can easily be duplicated and start in other areas of Uganda, as well as throughout other parts of the world as we continue to grow and reach and impact people. So you can see a picture there is a brother in our fellowship, Sylvester. He was baptized last year, and in 2000 at the end of 2019, and so we are tremendously blessed with, as I said, with the fruit that we are seeing as we engage the community around us, and the quality of the people that are coming around as a result of some of the outreach and evangelism things that we are doing. So moving into a picture of, or some pictures here of different people in the fellowship. So on the very on the very end there, we have Siraj and Peace. We had the blessed opportunity of participating in their marriage ceremony this last year, and that was a very special time for us as a church. It was something new, and it was just a great opportunity and time to see God's grace working in their lives as a husband and a wife. And it's been tremendous over this past year to see Siraj specifically flourishing and growing, not only in his faith and as a husband and as a father, but just his care and concern for the work that the church is doing there, and the people, and especially the single brothers. He's kind of taken a lot of the single brothers under his wing and is really moving them forward in a very good way. So that's obviously very encouraging on many fronts, but just thinking about the hope and the expectation of being able to establish local leadership in time, and what that looks like is, trying to identify people who are naturally doing those things, and then being able to bless them in the role or in the capacity that they're already operating in. So that's a very encouraging thing for us, and a new development that we're seeing. Right there in the middle is the Gooch family. That's John Gooch and Dory, and they just that's their firstborn, Sebastian, there. And I just noticed I probably should have picked a different family picture with Sebastian. He's looking for some sort of treasures there. But anyway, that's Sebastian. And then they just had a newborn baby, Jacqueline, a little girl. And so they are a family. John had been a part of the fellowship there in Medford as a single brother, came to Uganda as a single brother. And so it's been tremendous to see him transition from a single in the body, and then becoming a married man, and seeing the transition in his life, and then now being a father. It's just great to see them growing, and the work that he's specifically involved in, I'll highlight a little bit more later on. But he's involved with the vocational training program. So he's a skilled welder, and essentially he teaches a welding program that equips young people at our vocational training institute. And they graduate there with a certificate, being able to hopefully look for employment in some sort of a welding or manufacturing job. So then all the way down in the bottom corner, there is Jan and Hannah. And Jan and Hannah Lariu, and they are from Europe. Hannah's originally from America, but she grew up in Ireland. Jan is kind of from all over the map. He was born in Qatar and has lived in many places in Europe, lived in the US for a while, and then obviously lived a good majority of his life in Ireland, where he met his wife, Hannah. And before they moved to Uganda, they were living on Lesbos, or in Greece, serving with a mission there. And so they've been with us now about a year and a half, and they've been a tremendous asset to the work of the church, and just to the operations of the NGO. Jan has many giftings, and it's a blessing to have them as a family. I wish I would have had an updated photo of them prior to the call this evening. I realized I didn't, because they just had a son named Gabriel. And I know that the Taylors know them very well, but some of you may know them, and they've they've had a lot of challenges over the years. And so for them to be able to hold a precious baby boy is just a beautiful thing. And to see Jan as a father and Hannah as a mother is just the beams of light that come from their eyes as they hold their baby is just a tremendous blessing. And so we're excited for the new phase of life that they're moving into. Obviously, at the bottom, you can probably recognize those people. That's myself and my family. And we have there's a little girl named Joanne, and I'll get to her a little bit later. So she is not in our home currently, but we have myself and Natasha. Our youngest is Shiloh, biological. And then from there, we have Hadassah and Kati. So Hadassah is just turned 6, and Kati is about to turn 6. And then we have Langoli and Cindy, Boaz, Ava, and Carol. And so hopefully at some point we'll have the opportunity to meet each of you as opportunity presents itself. We'd love to get together and meet some of the different people. There's a lot of new faces that we've never met before, and it would be great. I know that it'll probably be a challenge because of wintertime and the coronavirus situation, but as opportunity presents itself, we would welcome the opportunity. And then obviously the picture, that's another picture of just the church body there in Kampala. It's kind of hard. It'd be great if we could be in person and I could point out some of the different people, but I'll get into them a little bit later. My mom, which it'll be hard to point her out from the screen here, but she is also in Kampala with us. She is the coordinator for His Image Ministries, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation as well. But she and another sister in the church named Mama Jennifer, they live in the house just next to us. And so those are our 2 older widow sisters, and they do a lot of investment and pouring into our younger sisters within the body, and specifically within the realm of His Image Ministries, the anti-abortion ministry. So here's just another photo here. You can see some of our single brothers with Siraj's baptism. And then I thought it was great to see, we have Siraj being baptized a little over a year ago. And then now Siraj is stepping up and he was able to baptize a new believer the Sunday before we left, a man named Emma, who is very excited and is wanting to or has surrendered his life over to Christ, and just excited to see what the work that God's going to do in his heart. But as you can probably see from each photo, winter is a foreign concept to Uganda. So for us right now, the cold is a bit of an adjustment, especially for our Ugandan children who have not experienced these New England temperatures before. And so it's exciting for them, but I think for some of the children, they prefer the warmth and the sunshine. So our focus, actually, let me go back to this last slide. I wanted to mention, so we have in total about 18 communing members in the body that are active right now in the fellowship in our agape. We had this last year, obviously the coronavirus has really brought a lot of things, it slowed a lot of things down. I know it has for you all here in New England, as well as us in Uganda and various parts of the world. It has really presented a lot of challenges and barriers as far as just, having outreach and having people in your home and evangelizing. But at the same time, I think it was helpful in some ways, at least for us in Uganda, to really reflect and be grateful for some of the things that we sometimes take for granted. I know one thing that Jan had shared a couple weeks ago was, now that when we were at the place where we couldn't have our normal gatherings of just everyone in the church getting together and having a meal and sharing and having a teaching, it's some of those things that we just kind of take for granted, and we don't realize, what you have until it's gone. And so we're adapting to, some hopefully temporary new normals, but it's just this is it has been a challenge for a lot of us. And so this last year, we were still able to have 4 new baptisms, new believers that come into the church. So we're all very excited about that. And it's been a challenge we've had to be creative in thinking about, okay, how are we going to continue to invest in people's lives and make disciples when we can't utilize the same avenues that we had previously used. And so we've had to be creative where that's concerned. And thankfully in Uganda, the numbers are still fairly low if we're looking at compared to a lot of other nations around the world. But nonetheless, it's still being impacted, but a lot of the restrictions are easing up. And so we're able to have a little bit more flexibility there. So one of the main focuses of our vision and mission there, as mentioned already, is the establishment of the local body, essentially planting a church, raising up faithful disciples of Jesus and teaching and training them to go out and make more disciples and to assemble themselves and continue to bring edification and growth for the body. And so that obviously is our focus. And within that, what we're doing internationally is that we have some different projects that are fishing ponds, or at least are hopeful fishing ponds that we've created over the years. Some have been more fruitful than others. And that's something that we try to assess and measure on a regular basis to see, is this in line with our vision and mission, and is it ultimately producing the results that we're looking for, which is to utilize our projects as a fishing pond to build relationship and to make disciples. And so I'm going to talk about these 4 different main projects. We've had several different projects over the years, and we've slowly began to kind of bring the scope of that down and focus our efforts in on the areas that we see as being more fruitful and more in line with our vision to ultimately establish a body there. One of the things about the church there in Kampala that I really find is I think it's a beautiful thing in Kampala is that it's a very multicultural church. We have Americans, we have Europeans, we have Kenyans, we have Ugandans, there's South Sudanese, there's it's a very multicultural melting pot, if you will, of people that are getting together. And so it's interesting to see some of those dynamics playing out. Obviously, at times it can create some challenges with communication. I mean, even 2 Native American English speakers can have miscommunication, and you compound that by culture and language and other things. It can even make it that much more challenging. So Antioch, I'll get into His Image Ministries, the Kazo Technical School, and then the SALT Microfinance Solutions. So I'll start with Antioch. Antioch is kind of the hub of everything that we do. It's kind of base camp, if you will. It's located literally right across the street from the university on the main road across from the small gate of the university. So as far as location, it puts us at a great place to really interact and to be visible, be visible to the community around us, but just lends itself to great access to the students and the community that live in and around the university there. And so one of the focuses there at Antioch is we have a team of people and the His Image Ministry team, which operates out of Antioch, and then also just the Bible studies, the Bible Academy, and the different things that we operate out of there. We have that's where the creation to new creation, some of you are familiar with that, some of you are not. It is a curriculum that has kind of been evolving and developing over years as we have tried to, as we've recognized a major gap or hole within, and this isn't necessarily unique to Uganda itself. I would say that even here in the U.S., it's a big hole for a lot of people, is that just general biblical literacy for people, understanding the story of the Bible, understanding the relationship between the Old Testament and the New Testament, what Jesus has to do with being a Messiah, what does that have to do with the gospel? A lot of people, even Americans, can't answer that question. And so a lot of the focus of what we do at Antioch is in the realm of biblical literacy, being able to teach the Bible in a way that connects people to the story, so that they can get the 30,000 foot view. We do a lot of zooming in and Bible study as well, but one of the goals and aims at Antioch is to just really give people an overview and a framework of how to read the Bible, how to understand it, how to start making application, how to reconcile some of those questions in their mind, how to understand the prophets in light of Israel's history, in the events that they are birthed out of, and how to make sense of what the prophets are saying in light of the revelation of Jesus Christ and what that means for us. And so a lot of what we do at Antioch is focused in that capacity. One of the changes that we're making this year, right there in the bottom, you can see two individuals in the picture. That's Reagan, and he's a Kenyan, and then we have Jimmy, and he's Ugandan. And so both of those brothers are faithful brothers that are in the body with us there in Kampala, and they are our Antioch facilitators. We have recently created kind of a new position, if you will, with those two guys as being Antioch facilitators. And the goal is to equip and train them so that they can really contextualize the message of the kingdom and in that East African way, and be able to articulate it and connect with their own peers in and around the university there, in and around Kampala, and Lord willing, even into Kenya. I know Reagan has a burden to be able to make disciples and go back at some point to his home village and areas, and so who knows what the future might hold there. But ultimately, what we've been doing this year is taking advantage of some of the downtime, because we had a lot of momentum going with many people enrolling in classes in the Bible Academy, the New Creation Bible Academy. And a lot of that momentum was lost as a result of the coronavirus, but we've been able to slow down and take the time and invest heavily into these two brothers. And I know they've been benefiting from the Historic Faith website and a lot of other platforms that we've been giving them to just take as much information in, and then work with them and brainstorm as a way to be able to have this information dispensed out to others. So that's kind of mine and Jan's focus right now, is heavily investing into these two individuals that are extremely zealous. They are go-getters. They're continually pushing us to the next level. And these guys just have such a passion for evangelism and a passion for truth, especially Jimmy, with some of his background. He grew up in and around, his family's Pentecostal, and so he grew up in and around that environment and came in with a whole lot of questions. And he's somebody that is very hungry for truth, and it's been great to see as he has uncovered truth, his willingness to align his life and align his thinking with those truths, despite maybe what his culture or what his family is telling him otherwise, but to see him really take steps and align his life with those truths that he's discovering has been just a tremendous blessing. And Stanley, who's actually downstairs right now, Stanley Cornelson, him and Graham Weber's also downstairs as well. They were here they were with us for about a year in Kampala, and they had taken part in a oral research or an oral communication research project, really studying patterns of oral communication, effective oral communication, so that we could really try to take the curriculum that we have and adapt it to an oral-based learning society or an oral culture, so that we could be as effective as possible. And Stanley was very instrumental in Jimmy coming to faith and seeing truth, recognizing it, and so I want to give that testimony of just persistence, and also just not overlooking the opportunities that we have every day. The meeting of the two of them, Jimmy and Stanley, happened to just be almost just bumping into each other. Jimmy saw Stanley and recognized, or thought he had recognized him. He mistaked him for someone else that he had known. Anyway, sparked some conversation, and Stanley, being a faithful brother, wanted to take that opportunity and make the most of it. Continued to communicate with him and invest in his life, and ultimately, there's the fruit that came from that. So even just our everyday opportunities sometimes that we have when we bump into people, we can make the most of that even in these times. So another project that we've been operating for about 4 years, maybe a little bit over 4 years now, has been the SALT microfinance program. That is in connection with Christian Aid Ministries. We are actually currently phasing this program out. We have right now about 700, a little over 700 members in the program. And what this essentially is it's a poverty empowerment program where there's no outside money that's being given to people. There's outside money that's used to run the program, but essentially the way this program operates is it's creating a savings group within a community of people, and those people are pulling together their resources and being able to create a system where they can loan each other money to either start a business or grow a business, and then they have to pay that back into the group, and then the group can continue to make loans within that. So the outside influence that comes in there is that we provide a facilitator, somebody to guide and give direction to a group that wants to be formed. We provide teaching, and we provide the materials for the groups, the teaching manuals that help them to learn lessons. There's a devotional, and then there's also typically a practical application about how to save money or how to budget, how to, when does it make sense to utilize a loan, and different things like that. And so it has been a very good program from that perspective. As I mentioned earlier on one of the earlier slides, one of the things that we've been doing is looking at the vision and the goals as a church of what we're trying to do, and we want to allocate resources and focus our efforts on our main goal, which is to see Kampala be the Antioch of Africa, where we have this sending discipleship model. And so we want to focus as much effort as we can in that direction. And so we are phasing this project out. It's not something that we're going to continue to operate in the year 2021. Thankfully, one of our connections in Kenya, Open Hands to Serve, which is very similar to Christian Aid Ministries. They have a program, Open Hands to Serve, and they are going to be taking over our SALT program and bringing it under their operations. So the nice thing about that is that the 4 years of work that have gone into poverty empowerment within these various communities throughout Uganda will be continuing to move forward. It's not just going to be, dropped and left and the work fizzle out. Thankfully, someone else that has a vision to focus their efforts in that capacity will be able to kind of pick that up and hopefully be able to add even more value to the program than we've been able to. So So that program, like I said, is being phased out. Our next program is the one that I had mentioned. John Gooch is very involved with. He is the overseer of this program, and it's our welding school, our Caso Technical School is what it's called. It's a vocational training program, and on average, it has about 10 to 12 students that come through. So it's a small, intentionally, we try to keep it small because we want it to be quality, but we also want it to be an atmosphere where students and those administering the program can have an opportunity to really build a relationship with each of the students. The larger a program gets, the more challenging relationship becomes within those settings. So for John and for the other staff members there to be able to really connect with the students, we intentionally try to keep it smaller. There's typically 2 semesters, a total of 26 weeks. Students start, and 26 weeks later, they graduate with a certification that they are able to use and hopefully be able to go out and identify a job or potentially even start their own small welding business. So far, we've had 10 graduates to date, and 7 of those graduates are employed as a result of completing the school. So it's still a very new. We started this project back in 2018, so it is still growing and kind of, we're still going through a lot of, it's still a work in progress. And obviously this last year has kind of stalled a lot of that momentum as well. And so we're actually stepping back and kind of reassessing and looking at what reopening the vocational school looks like. But we have, has been fruitful in the aspect of one person who is in the fellowship now as a result of the Bible studies that happen. There's always a Bible study at the beginning of each day. And so we have had one person come into the church as a result of this work here. So we want to give glory to God in that aspect. So the next ministry that we are involved in, that is also operates, as I mentioned before, out of Antioch, is His Image Ministries. And this is our anti-abortion project, essentially. And the reason we call it His Image Ministries is, we believe that every human, every life is created in the image of God. And so these beautiful unborn children are also image bearers of God. And we want to, even within the name, we want to try to convey that truth to as many people as possible. That is the coordinator for that project specifically is my mother. You can see her there. She's in the center of those 2 other ladies there who are a part of her team. They're on they're staff members with her. We have Betty, who is a sister in the church, and then also Catherine, who is just a team member on the His Image Ministries team. The picture up top is Josephine and her baby, James. That right there is the beautiful thing about this ministry is the fruit is so tangible. It's lives, it's little babies being born. In fact, last night, one of our VIPs, and I'll explain in a moment what a VIP is, but one of our women that is in the program chose life and decided to keep the life of her baby, just gave birth last night. So the fruit, like I said, is just, it's unmistakable when you see cute little babies being born and growing up. And so up top, as I said, is Sister Josephine. She not only chose life, but she has stayed connected with the ministry over the years. James, who will be 3 very soon, is the fruit of her choosing not to get an abortion. And she has stayed very active with His Image Ministries. She also became involved with the Bible studies that we offer at Antioch. And my mother, who we also call Jaja. Jaja is what you call an older person in Uganda. So she's everyone's Jaja. So Jaja there played a major role in investing in her life. And she's been a faithful sister in the body for 2 years now with us. So it's been very exciting to see the fruit of this ministry, and just to see people coming to Christ, and to see the work of just this little child growing year after year, and to see Josephine's continued involvement. She recently went through classes online to become a doula. And for those of you who may not know, a doula is someone who helps someone who is pregnant go through the birthing and delivery process. And so anyway, she became a certified doula, and is hoping to utilize that training to continue to help women there in Uganda who will, hope, Lord willing, as a result of the ministry, choose to save their baby. The picture there at the bottom is also just another beautiful child of a mother who chose chose life as a result, as opposed to falling into the peer pressure of terminating her pregnancy. And so the goal at His Image Ministries is to sensitize those around about abortion. Sadly, there's a lot of misinformation, and a lot of people just don't know. They haven't been properly educated. Abortion in Uganda is something that is technically illegal, but it's still happening. And it's very, very common, especially where we're located with the university, because you're dealing with a lot of young people who have been put into, new atmospheres where they're away from parents, and they're in these situations, and they're faced with a lot of peer pressure and expectations. And so many people find themselves pregnant as a result of certain life choices. And the easy answer is just to go and terminate the pregnancy and abort that child. And so our goal, one of our main goals, is to really sensitize and educate people. So a lot of the focus of what we're doing with His Image Ministries is putting out information and holding events and educating people. Once again, this last year with coronavirus, that has presented a lot of challenges where that's concerned, but we still have been able in new ways, been able to get the message out as far as that's concerned. So the VIP, as I mentioned before, we call our women who are expecting mothers, we call them VIPs. And the VIP doesn't stand for very important person. We say it stands for very important people, because we want them to understand that it's not just you. If you're pregnant, there's a baby on board, and so there's very important people that we're dealing with, not just you as the mother, but you and your unborn baby. And so the goal of the VIP program is to protect the preborn from the culture of death. There are so many, sadly, there are so many places where there in Uganda, even though it's illegal, there are so many places that people can go to get an abortion. And a lot of times the sanitary conditions are not good. And it's sad to see ultimately the repercussions and the ripple effect of these of what happens when these women choose to end their pregnancies. And so we want to try to protect the mother, the father, and the unborn children by creating that awareness. So we guide VIPs through their pregnancy by offering counseling, advice, and emotional support. And so there's a whole staff, a whole team of people. We have a lot of volunteers that are passionate about this program and about its message, that help us to accomplish this when we meet a young woman. And surprisingly, many times I'm surprised how often in Uganda it is actually the father, the male, that will contact us or will somehow get us connected with the mother because they don't want their girlfriend or fiance or whoever it happens to be to end this pregnancy. And so many times it's actually the male that is reaching out to us. And so we have a good volunteer base that does a really good job in connecting and being able to offer counseling and emotional support for the mother, but also for the father to be as well. We also work with the expecting parents to reconcile with family. Many times, the pressure to end a pregnancy is because of family. There's a lot of expectations in the Eastern culture. It's very much an honor shame society, and so to bring shame on the family there's all kinds of expectations that are placed upon young people who make poor life decisions. And that can cause them to continue to make very catastrophic choices and cause them to take the life of their baby. And so we tried to work with them and to walk alongside them to reconcile and try to do peace building with their families back in the villages or wherever their family happens to be. We don't want whoever the expecting mother is, we don't want them to feel alone. We want them to feel supported and know that there's a network of people that are going to walk alongside of them and be able to help begin to build that bridge between them and their family. And many times in the midst of the news of a pregnancy, family members, fathers, mothers, grandparents take it very hard, and it becomes very challenging. But to see a lot of these when all is said and done and the child is birthed, to see how the family reacts when they actually see that life and get to hold that little baby, it's a tremendous blessing to kind of see those emotions soften and see a connection within the family happening. So awareness through education. So as I mentioned before, a lot of what we do is geared towards getting information out there, helping to educate people about this, because there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of wrong information that is being spread out there by social media and by even by the university and the educational institutes itself. And so one of our programs is, we call it MAP. There's going to be a lot of acronyms coming up here. We like them in Uganda. So modesty, abstinence, and purity is one of our initiatives to help young people understand sexual development, and we provide appropriate information on reproductive health and interpersonal relationship challenges to guide them on their journey into adulthood. So we're dealing with a demographic that is very young. They're going from secondary school into their university, and they're still very young and moldable. They're going to be facing a lot of new pressure and expectations by their peers. And so we utilize this as a opportunity to really teach them about modesty, abstinence, and purity, and how that's a very valuable thing and something to be held on to. One of our other programs, which is, we call it our CULT, Culture of Life Training. And this program specifically is designed for those who want to get involved. There has been a number of people who have come across our information or have stopped by Antioch and have wanted to know how they can get involved. And so ultimately, this is our program that we take people through when they want to become volunteers and ultimately kind of join the pro-life movement, if you will, of what we're doing there. And so it's specifically designed to take them through training, personal study, classroom discussion, and then they get a field of experience with conducting their own surveys. We send people out to do surveys and as a way to just find out what people do or don't know about abortion and hopefully be able to change some people's minds. So we have some devices that we send out that they can do those surveys with. We have them watch some very short videos, and see if at least initially we can get people thinking about this, talking about it, and potentially even change their mind on the topic. And then one of our other programs, which has been very much impacted in a negative way as a result of coronavirus, is Let's Talk About Life. This is a weekly program that we did every Saturday. And ultimately, it was just a place where people could come. Didn't matter, male, female, student, non-students, whatever the case, everyone is welcome to come. We'll have some sort of popcorn snack, and we'll end up having some sort of guided discussion. We'll talk about things that have to do with young people and the choices that they make. We'll talk about abortion. We'll talk about, we may have a biblical subject that we're going to talk about. It ultimately is a bit of an open forum that is moderated. There's somebody who's going to moderate the discussion and kind of lead out and have some questions, or potentially a video or something that they're going to take people through to kind of open up discussion. But we really found that this was a very productive way of engaging the community around us. And it gave a safe place for a lot of students to just kind of come, hang out, and just be in a relaxed atmosphere where they could ask questions that maybe they wouldn't ask other places. They felt comfortable there, and there was a team of people that were there able to really connect with people. And so we're really hoping that next year, as Lord willing, as things develop and restrictions ease, that we can reignite this program and have a new be reinvigorated with a passion to utilize this fishing pond as best we can, because we really get a lot of turnout from having this event. And then ultimately, which I already mentioned, was the surveys that are conducted typically on campus, but usually in and around the area that we live there in Makerere-Chikoni. So I wanted to take a moment and talk about Amali. Some of you know Amali. The Milionis know Amali very well. And tonight probably is not we probably don't have sufficient time to really dive into her story, but I'll try to give just a bit of an overview of how she came into our lives. Ultimately, she is a young girl that has epilepsy. She had a major fire that destroyed a good portion of her face and disfigured her, as you can see from the photos. And so she's had to undergo a lot of different surgeries throughout her life. She's been exposed to a lot of traumas as a child growing up in South Sudan. She's been exposed to war and violence and all kinds of traumatic events. And she was originally going to be coming to Boston. And so the Milionis were going to take Amali in. And I think it was going to be the Boston Children's Hospital, or one of the hospitals there in Boston. She was going to be undergoing surgeries, but as a result of some political things and just visas and all the challenges that a lot of people face trying to come to America that aren't from America, it just wasn't going to be a possibility. And so that's where it was just it's beautiful that the church in Boston was trying to intervene in this very needful situation, and we're not able to, but that's where the Church of Kampala was able to step up to the plate, and we were able to help facilitate in providing Amali a place to stay and be able to just walk alongside her through this. And so she has very much connected with my mom. She lives with my mom there in Kampala, and she's gone through a lot of surgeries in Kampala. And about little over a year ago, I think about a year and a half ago, she actually went to Chile. So the surgeries in America they kept falling through. And so some doctors in Chile were willing to take on her case. And so she's spent the last year and a half in Chile receiving some more surgeries. And she just returned back to Kampala on Sunday. So that's the picture there on the far left is my mom with Amali on the day that she returned. And so yeah, we're excited once we get back to be reunited with her. But she has a lot of needs still. We're one of our goals is to really get her to a place of self-sufficiency, and we're still figuring out what that looks like. She's still very young. Mentally, she is much younger than she is physically. She has a lot of challenges from her epilepsy and the trauma, as well as just the physical injuries that she has sustained have taken a toll on her mentally. And so one of our goals is to, like I said, is to get her to a place where she can hopefully learn a skill, some sort of a trade that she can do, and be at some form of self-sustain, being able to sustain herself there in Uganda. She, at this moment, there's no plans for her to return to South Sudan. I'm not sure, some of you may or may not know, several years ago, we did a project in Kiriandongo with the South Sudanese refugees. There's over 2.5 million South Sudanese refugees in Kampala as a result of the civil wars over the years that have happened. And so there's just not much to return to there for her. And so we're trying to see what life in Uganda is going to look like for her. And obviously she'll continue to live with my mom for now, but we're trying to plan for her future at the moment. Next is a beautiful little girl. So she was in the photo of our family at the very beginning. Her name is Joanne. Joanne Rashmi Namutebi is her full name. And she lived with us for about a year. She has been in our church community. She's 6 years old, and she's been in our church community since she was 1 year old. So we've known her since she was a baby. She lived in our house for a year. As some of you know, Jan and Hannah were hopeful that they were going to be able to bring her in and adopt her into her family. That is not going to be a viable solution. And so she still is a part of she's a child of the community in some ways, as you can, is one way to put it. One of our national sisters, Betty Namaganda, has taken Rashmi into her home, thankfully. And so as I said, she's still a part of our body, a part of our church community. And we're all investing in her little life. And thankfully, Sister Betty is really stepped into a major role and is raising her. So we do have a fund, as far as Joanne is concerned, that we have set up to be able to just provide for her needs. As you can see, she is an albino. And so with that comes a lot of medical complications as she gets older. And so we do have a fund that is set up for Joanne to be able to help her with her development and any medical needs, educational, and just general life needs as she continues to grow. So that is essentially it for what I have. Let me see here. Go back to the very first. So what I'll do is I'll hand it back over to either Matthew or Clark if there's any questions or comments that anyone has. Hopefully that's been able to kind of give you at least a little bit of a glimpse of what's going on in Kampala, the church there, the work that we're doing, and the various projects which are our fishing ponds to build relationship, to ultimately make disciples, and just be faithful to the work that the Lord has put before us there in Kampala. Ways, if any of you do want to help or get involved in any ways, our three biggest areas of need right now are those His Image Ministries is one that we need ongoing. We'll ask for prayer for everything that we're doing. we would definitely appreciate everyone's prayer. But His Image Ministries is an area that we need help with. Amali and her future, and Joanne would be the three initial places that I could think of if there's a way that you're wanting to get involved specifically and help out there. So